Greetings and welcome to the United States Transhumanist Party Virtual Enlightenment Salon. My name is Gennady Stoliarov II, and I am the chairman of the U.S. Transhumanist Party. Here we hold conversations with some of the world's leading thinkers in longevity, science, technology, philosophy, and politics. Like the philosophers of the Age of Enlightenment, we aim to connect every field of human endeavor and arrive at new insights to achieve longer lives, greater rationality, and the progress of our civilization. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our U.S. Transhumanist Party Virtual Enlightenment Salon of April 28th, 2024. Today we have a fascinating conversation in store for you about the activism and electoral campaigning efforts of a fellow political party focused on biomedical rejuvenation. To begin, let me introduce our esteemed panelists. We have our Director of Visual Art, Art Ramon Garcia. We have our Legislative Director, Jason Geringer. We have our 2024 U.S. Vice Presidential Candidate and Director of Citizen and Community Science, Daniel Tweed. And our special guest today is Felix Werth, the chairman of the German Party for Biomedical Rejuvenation Research, or in German, die Partei für schulmedizinische Verjüngungsforschung. If you can pronounce that in German, I will be impressed. But we met with Felix previously. I interviewed him in Dublin during the 2023 Longevity Summit there. And he also joined us on October 1st, 2023 for International Longevity Day, where he updated us on the demonstrations that the Party for Biomedical Rejuvenation Research held in Germany on that day. And since that time, there has been a lot of activity. It's a busy season leading up to the elections for the European Parliament. So welcome to Felix. Thank you for joining us. And please tell us about your recent efforts.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So the European election is on June 9th. So exactly today in 6 weeks. And we are doing election campaign already since like 1 month or so. Right now we are hanging up as many election posters as we can, because we think that this is the most efficient way to reach the most people that we can. So our election posters are kind of provocative because they emphasize the possible life extension part of the rejuvenation research, that maybe people can live for thousands of years, people that are alive today with future medicine. And so the posters get a lot of attention. A lot of people take pictures of them, post them on social media. The media gets interested in the subject, in the party, and we can give a lot of interviews. And our website gets visited more often because people, they don't understand and want to see what this is. And yeah, so it's going quite well so far. And yeah, so I think this kind of advocacy is very, very efficient. So you can reach a lot of people with this election campaign. Our goal is to hang up election posters in the 200 biggest cities in Germany. So, I mean, Gennady, maybe you can show some pictures so that people get a feeling what this looks like. So there you can see 3 of us while hanging up the posters. So the poster on top on the light pole. So we are allowed to hang up basically the election posters on light poles, and we hang them up in the shopping streets, in the downtown areas of the cities, like at the pedestrian areas where a lot of people walk by and see them. And so the picture, so the election posters on top says that aging will probably be curable soon. And it's in the small text underneath explains the longevity escape velocity. It says that people have a chance now to live for thousands of years in good health if we put basically more money into this research. And it also points out the paper hallmarks of aging, which is the scientific background behind this chance. And then there you have the party name and our website where everything is explained in more detail. And also we cover the concerns like overpopulation and stuff like that, pension collapse of the pension system and so on our website. And we have a lot of explanations on our websites and links to other social media platforms of other organizations like Lifespan.io and so on. And so the other poster, for example, that you see on the bottom, it says, where do you want to live in 800 years? And it's get kinds of attention because most people who see it, they say, what? I mean, in 800 years, I will be dead. So what a silly question. And but it gets a lot of attention. And we have, maybe you can show some more. Yeah, there I'm on the ladder hanging up a poster, and in front you see a TV guy who does a documentation about our party. Maybe the next one. Yeah, me again, hanging up the poster. You cannot quite see here because you have the text on the bottom, like the many people that walk by. So it's a very busy shopping street there, and so our posters there are very present. We hang up a lot on the street. Yes, me again hanging up a poster. Maybe next one. We also have a poster that says indefinite, basically life for everybody, or indefinite long life for everybody. That's basically our demand. And this one is the one with aging will probably be curable. We always pay attention that we are like that we don't basically say something that is not true, or that we don't promise anything that aging will be curable. We always try to say aging will probably be curable. So because it's not a certainty, right? But we have a good chance. That's what we want to point out. And there's my colleague, one of my colleagues. So we have several teams in several cities who hang up the posters. Right now we have about, in total, a little bit over 5,000 of those posters. And we are doing a fundraiser right now to collect money so that we can order more posters and hang up more posters in more cities. We don't have the money yet for that, the funds yet. There you see our poster with from another party, and the poster on top. So all the parties hang up those posters prior to elections to make to promote their party. And this is in Berlin, poster hanging again on top of another poster from another party. And this way I think our movement gets a lot of visibility, and a lot of people get to know this, because most people, they've never heard of this, that scientists are working on medicine to cure aging. That's what we experience in conversation with people who walk by. They just are astonished, and they wonder if we are joking, if we are a satire party, who does jokes. And then we explain them, no, that's solid science behind it, and scientists are working on it. And yeah, they just don't know. Most of the people don't know. And yeah, is there another picture?
We have the video, a brief video that we can show.
It's just really great advocacy. I mean, a poster is about maybe €2, costs about €2, and it's free for us to hang them up. And and the people who hang them up, they are all doing it voluntarily. So it's very efficient advocacy, for €2 to hang up a poster there that hangs basically there for 6 weeks or 8 weeks, because after the election it also hangs some time there before we hang them down again, before we remove them. So yeah, and basically we can put them everywhere. So people who like this kind of advocacy, I mean, they are welcome to come to Germany now and help with hanging up those posters, because we would need more help to hang up. I mean, we could hang up much more posters if we would have more help from people hanging them up.
Yes, indeed. And John H. writes, old tech is sometimes still the best, so the posters seem to be highly effective at attracting visibility for relatively low cost. And our viewer Mike Lazine appreciates the truthfulness of these posters. He says, don't copy the main American parties who love to lie and make promises they know they cannot deliver anytime soon. So he is wondering, what technologies are you looking at for life extension? What approaches are you advocating? I know that you have been vocal in promoting the SENS approach of Aubrey de Grey, for example.
Yes, that's an approach that, in my opinion, is most plausible for getting to longevity escape velocity. And that's basically the approach that our party promotes. But if there are other approaches, they are also it's also fine to work on other approaches, of course, important. But we especially point out and promote the sense repair approach. Yes.
Yes, thank you. And Daniel Tweed also wonders, what were the requirements to create your party back in 2015? And I will add to that, are there any requirements for maintaining official political party status in Germany that you have to fulfill on a recurring basis?
Yeah, so creating the party is very easy. You only need 3 people and statutes, and then you can create a party. But in order to be able to participate in election, to be allowed to participate, you have to collect support signatures. And if you're not in parliament, you have to collect those support signatures for each election that you want to participate. So we participated so far in 21 elections already in Germany, and each time we collected those signatures. And for the European election, for example, now we had to collect 4,000 valid support signatures. So people have to sign a form where they give their name, their address, their birth date, and the signature. And yeah, we need 4,000, and yeah, so that they support the party, and we need 4,000 of those. But that's also already very good advocacy, because we approach like thousands of people in parks and on the street ask them for a signature, and of course they want to know for what the signature is, basically. So we explain them the party and the rejuvenation research chance that we have. And so that's already good advocacy, but it's not very efficient because you approach one person by one person. It's very time consuming. So the election campaign now is much more efficient because you have you give an interview, and this interview is seen by a lot of people, if you have media interviews, or you hang up an election poster and then thousands of people see it. And but you can only do this efficient advocacy in the election campaign if you do the work prior to this with the collection of the signatures. So that's a requirement, the only requirement.
Yes, and the gathering of signatures, I know in the United States, is quite an onerous process because some of the individual states set very high thresholds. A few states are reasonable in that they require 1,000 signatures or less, but some states require tens of thousands, for example. And the 4,000 signatures that you mentioned, are they able to be gathered throughout all of Germany? Or yes. Okay, so you can go to any part of Germany to gather any of those signatures. There's no requirement that they be distributed in a certain way.
Yes, correctly. But as I said, it's really time. I mean, you think 4,000 signatures, it doesn't sound so much. But if you're on the street, approaching people, you talk to them, you get into a conversation. If you maybe calculate like 30 minutes for one signature, then you take 30 minutes times 4,000, you get the time that you need to collect them. Of course, sometimes you get more signatures in 1 hour, but sometimes you only get one or none. If it's raining, if it's not because we had to collect them also in the winter time, so it was much more difficult than if you collect them during the summer, if a lot of people are outside.
And Daniel Tweed wonders, do the signatories have to not be affiliated with any other political party, or can they just be any resident of Germany, even if they support another political party? Can they still sign your petition to have you included in the election?
Yes, that's correct. So anybody can sign it, and there were also quite a lot of people from other big parties who signed our petition, because the big parties that are in parliament, they don't have to collect the signatures. So because there is a rule that every person can only sign for one party. So if they sign for us, they cannot sign for any other party. So if they like another, but only the small party have to collect the signatures. So people who like other small parties and want to sign for them, they don't sign for us. They cannot sign for two parties, basically. But the people who are in big parties or who support big parties, they can sign for us because the big parties don't need the signatures.
This is interesting. Actually, in this aspect, that requirement is more restrictive than what exists in the United States, because in the US, anybody can sign a petition to have a party included on the ballot, even if they would support or vote for a different political party. And my understanding is people can sign petitions from multiple political parties in the US as well. But speaking of multiple parties, Mike Lazine wonders how many parties are in the German parliament, if you know the answer, at least approximately.
I don't know exactly. I mean, approximately maybe 7. But I don't. I would have to count now. I mean, I guess 6 or 7. But but this is the European election, right? So there's a European Parliament that the campaign is now for, And there's also the federal parliament, and there are state parliaments. So it's different, I guess, for each state, how many parties are in the, because there's a 5% threshold. So in the state elections and in the federal elections in Germany, there's a 5% threshold. So a party needs at least 5% of the votes to get into parliament. And even some of the bigger parties sometimes don't make the 5% and don't get into parliament. They get then like 4.9%, and then they are not in parliament. But in the European election, that is on June 9th, there's no threshold. So you would get the first seat with about 0.5% of the votes. So and we already had 0.5% of the votes in 3 of the state elections that we participated in. So this time it's really a realistic chance to get into the European Parliament. In the last European election, 2019, we had 0.2% of the votes, about 70,000 votes. And this time we need, to get into the parliament, we need 0.5%, which are about 200,000 votes. But we are still very unknown. So, I mean, if you hang up the posters, almost nobody knows the party. That's my experience. Or if you approach people for the signatures. So if a lot more people would know us, I think we would have a really realistic chance to get into the parliaments. To get even more than one seat in the European Parliament, and also to get into the state and federal parliaments, if most people would know about us. And I think this is where our new strategy is very good for getting more known, because it's so provocative that people talk about it. And because so we changed the party name about 1.5 years ago. And before that, we were like the Party for Health Research, and we didn't talk about life extension, the life extension part about this, and we only demanded basically more research against the disease of old age, like Alzheimer, cancer, and so on, and it didn't get much attention. But now that we promote like the life extension part, or that we focus on the life extension part, then now we get more attention, and that's a hope that more people will know about it. And the people who want to live longer, they basically, I mean, if that's their priority, to live longer, they basically would have to vote for us, because no other party in Germany focuses on that yet. So we are the only party who wants. So our concrete demand for the European election now is to put 40, in English it's billion euro per year additionally into the rejuvenation research, basically government money from the European Parliament budget. And so right now almost nothing is invested in this area.
Yes, and definitely in the United States we have a similar issue where a lot of the investments, even in aging research, are far too modest and incremental to really make a difference. And the US Transhumanist Party advocates $100 billion per year being spent on anti-aging and rejuvenation research. Now, in terms of the situation that the Party for Biomedical Rejuvenation Research is in, John H. wonders how many other small parties in Germany are seeking signatures that may be of the caliber of your party and are trying to get into the EU Parliament.
So the signatures collection is over, because right now because otherwise we wouldn't be allowed to hang up posters and do election campaign. So the signature collection is for the admission to the election, but we are already admitted. And there are in total 35 parties. So we have, I don't know, maybe six or seven big parties that are also in the German governments. And then the rest, 29 or 28 are small parties. And we are a single issue party because, we only have we demand more rejuvenation research, government funded rejuvenation research, and we want to do advocacy for this. But most of the small parties, they have a full program. They want to do everything better than the big parties, basically. And so that's the situation.
Yes, it's interesting. The German Bundestag, and here you can see the link to the Wikipedia entry, has representation from 9 different political parties. One of the parties only has 1 member in the Bundestag, and there are 4 members who aren't affiliated with any political party. So that is more diversity than exists in the United States. But you said there are 35 parties who would like to be included in the European Parliament. So clearly some of them will make it, others will not. But it is good to have that level of competition that voters can then decide upon. Because in the US, we have a problem with the 2 major political parties just dominating the elections so thoroughly that smaller parties have a hard time even getting included on the ballot. The Libertarian Party and the Green Party are often able to get included on the ballot, and sometimes a few other parties' candidates, but we have not had a situation where 35 parties have been included on the ballot. So I'm wondering if you could discuss what are some of the aspects of the German and European electoral systems that actually make it easier for smaller parties to get included, even though they still have to collect signatures of petitions just like parties in the United States. And sometimes it's even more restrictive because a person can only sign for 1 political party.
Yeah, I mean, basically, you have to form a party, you have to collect some signatures, and then you are on the ballot. It's relatively easy. I mean, the signature collection is the most difficult part, the most time-consuming. And there are some parties who don't make that. They try to get those signatures, but they didn't get enough. They only got 2,000 or less than 4,000. And
yes.
If you fulfill those requirements, then you are on the ballot.
So it seems perhaps the reason why more parties are on the ballot in Germany is that there's not any sort of concerted effort to keep minor parties from being on the ballot. In the United States, some of the official requirements may be similar, but the Republicans and Democrats both really do not like competition. So they will resort to legal trickery often. If you gather the required number of signatures, sometimes one of the big parties, and the Democrats are especially notorious for doing this, will challenge the validity of those signatures, and they will nitpick, like saying, oh, this person's name is not legible enough, or does this person really live at this address? So often the people who gather the signatures have to gather extra signatures just in case. In the event of a challenge, if some of the signatures get thrown out, then at least enough of them are valid and would meet the threshold. But it seems that in Germany, you don't really have that problem. If you gather the signatures, if you follow the official rules, you will get admitted. Is that your experience as well?
Yes. But the big parties want to keep you out of parliament. That's why there's a threshold, and they want to invent like this threshold also for the European Parliament election. So this this will very likely be the last European election without a threshold. They're already in the process of putting in place a threshold of, I think, 3% or something. So in the next European election, you would need at least 3% of the votes to get into the European Parliament. And at this election, you only need 0.5% of the votes, because Germany gets about 100 seats in the European Parliament, and the number is rounded up, basically. So with 0.5%, it's rounded up to 1%, and you get 1 seat. So for 2 seats, you would need 1.5% of the votes. So it's rounded up to 2%. That's basically how it's calculated. And so the big parties don't want, they don't want to keep us off the ballot paper, but they don't want to keep the small parties out of the parliament, because right now there are some small parties in the European Parliament that have like 1 or 2 seats there, and the big parties think that they steal them the seats because,
Of course, that's the entire rationale for proportional representation, that you don't have to be the winning party or the majority party in order to get some seats in parliament. If you represent some fraction of the population, you get a proportional share of the seats. So I think that is a better system than the one that exists in the United States, which is a winner-take-all system. But still, it seems that the big parties try to manipulate the thresholds to make it more difficult for the smaller parties to qualify. And unfortunately, for those in power, often the incentives are the same, to try to limit their competition. But I do think that you have greater chances of electoral success, especially now, especially if you can get the 0.5% this time and qualify for the European Parliament. Now, Mike Lazine points out that if each person signs a petition and it takes on average, say, 30 minutes to convince one individual to sign for 4,000 signatures, that would take 2,000 hours. And he points out that's a long time. And I'm wondering how you are able to allocate that amount of work. So how many people do you use to gather the petition signatures? Do you organize them into teams? Do you have different people going into different areas to gather the signatures? Give us a bit of insight into the organization that goes into the signature gathering, because it does seem like quite a significant effort.
Yes, it is. So we have very few people who do the main part of the signature collection, and they put in a lot of time. And then we have right now about 300 party members, a little bit over 300 party members in German-wide, or in the party. You don't have to live in Germany or be German to be a member of our party. So we also have some members outside of Germany, but yeah. So but most of them are kind of inactive and don't go out and approach strangers on the street and collect signatures. So those are very few, and they put in a lot of time. But yeah.
In this election, to get the 4,000 signatures that you needed, how many people were active in that effort? Again, approximately.
So there were me and another guy who did basically collect all the time signatures. We collected most of them, and then there were a couple of people who just helped for a couple of days or some couple of hours. I don't know how many, maybe in total 20 or so that collected the signatures, basically. But there were like few people. Oh, and then there's also the possibility that you hire people who help to collect the signatures, because it's much more easier, like if you are more people like in one place, like where there are a lot of people, if you are like 5 people there that collect the signatures, so you can also hire people who help you to collect the signatures. But that, of course, requires funds, money, and we have very little of those. The party has very little money. So we couldn't hire a lot of people, but sometimes we had, sometimes we hired people to help us. So we had a little bit of money we had for that.
Yeah. Yes, and in the United States, there's also an option to hire people to gather signatures, and a lot of parties have resorted to that. Of course, it can be expensive, as you pointed out. Now, I'm curious also, is it possible for somebody outside of Germany to come in and assist with the effort to gather signatures? I know Didier Crenel, for instance, did this in a prior election. So there seems to be some allowance.
He also did this for the European election. So he came to Germany and collected signatures. So he also helped with the collection of the signatures, also for this European election. Yes. So it's possible, because most Germans also speak English, so you don't have to speak German to collect the signatures. It's totally possible, yes. And it's also possible, as I said, to help now with the election campaign. You can come to Germany and help us to hang up the election posters in the shopping streets, or do other election campaign stuff like information booth or demonstrations. But I think the most efficient thing is the other election posters.
How many posters are you planning to hang up in total?
Well, right now we have about 6,000, but of course we would like to hang up much more, but that all depends on how much money is donated. So with the funds we have right now, we can hang up about 6,000 election posters.
6,000?
Yeah, so we already have them. So we also hang up like election posters from last election, because we can reuse them. So yeah, because after the election we have to remove them again. So then we keep them and we hang them up again. But sometimes some of them get destroyed, so we cannot, like if there's a storm, then they fly away or something. And or people like paint something on them or so. I mean, they are like hanging in the public areas, right? So everybody can write something on them or do stuff. But most of them are reusable after the election. And so we had maybe about 1,500 posters, 1,000 to 1,500 posters we had from prior elections, and we reuse them. We already hang those all up, and now we have 4,350 new election posters that you saw on the pictures, and we are now in the process of hanging them up. But of course, we would like to order much more election posters and hang up much more, because the more posters we hang up, the more people see them and know about this,
I'm glad that you're able to reuse most of them, and it seems you said they're not that expensive to manufacture, €2 per poster. How are you able to get that kind of price? Is it because you order them in mass?
Yes. Because right. So we ordered like 4,300 at one company, so we got smaller price.
Yes, understandable. Now, Mike Lazine wonders, how do you remember where you put up the posters, so when you need to take them down, you can gather them from all of the places where they were initially hung?
Yeah, we just use an app, and we mark the places on the map where we put them on the smartphone, and then we just this way we know where they are hanging.
Yes, I think this is quite an interesting strategy. Alan Crowley writes that Germany has so many places for handbills like cement cylinders and rail stops. Where would you say are the best places to hang up posters for visibility?
Okay, so a lot of the big parties, they hang the posters up for people who drive the car. So on the main highways, basically, where the cars are going. I mean, yeah. But we have so much text on it, so smaller text that explains, like as I explained, the longevity, escape velocity, or the repair approach, hallmarks of aging. So you basically, people who are in the car, they can only read the big words, they cannot read the small text. So we concentrate on the pedestrians. The downtown shopping areas, in my opinion, are the best places, because there are all people from everywhere go there for shopping, and see them there. And so and also on stations, on train stations, bus stations, where there are a lot of people coming by. Yeah, there's a lot of good places where you can hang them up. Yeah.
Yes, all those seem to be reasonable places for getting a lot of attention. Now, Jason Geringer wonders, is the topic of demographics discussed much in German politics? And he writes that Germany seems to be one of the countries facing a bad demographic situation, with essentially population growth being below replacement. And if Germany is facing a demographic challenge, then that could be a powerful reason to push for life extension. Does your party use demographic data in this way?
We mention it, but we don't emphasize it too much. It would be a solution, right, for this problem, for the demographic change problem, and but of course the main the main problem is maybe that it's not a certainty that it will work, right? So even if we put in a lot of money into this research, it's not like that you can guarantee the people, give a guarantee to the people that we will have this medicine in 15 years or so. We can say that we have a good chance, a 50% chance or something, but you cannot give a guarantee. And I don't know if that's the problem, that the politicians have to put much more money into it.
So it's interesting, because arguments have been made to this effect with regard to the so-called longevity dividend, which has been a concept embraced by many eminent mainstream scientists in the United States, that if you enable people to have even a few additional years of healthy longevity, that could add trillions of dollars to the gross domestic product, because people are able to work longer in good health. And yet, those arguments generally have not succeeded with politicians, I think because of the kind of uncertainty that you mentioned, that they're not sure to what extent this research will actually produce those benefits and on what time frame. So many of these politicians are elected for short terms, relatively speaking, and the benefits of this research are going to be quite long term. So Aubrey de Grey's estimate is a 50% probability in 12 to 15 years that we will have the technologies to reach longevity escape velocity. And almost no politicians who are in office today will be in office in 15 years. So how do you aim to convince the general public and politicians that this is a sufficiently high probability, even if it's not realized instantaneously or in the near future, that nonetheless it's worth investing in this research because of the huge benefits that can arrive in a decade and a half or a few decades, depending, of course, on what the research produces?
Yeah, it's a difficult question because, I mean, from my opinion, it would be worse even if the chance would be much lower, right? Because I mean, it's about life and death, right? And if you have a chance to avoid death, or at least the age-related death, the death of aging, then it should always be like you should put all the money into it to increase this chance to avoid this the age-related death. I think that also the main problem is the denial of death, that people don't want to think about it, you know, and the politicians are the same, like general public, they want to, yeah, they don't want to get their hopes up. Maybe that's the main problem. Yeah, and most of them, they don't know about the chance here. But I think so we were talking about 2,000 of people, right, while collecting the signatures. So and the conversation are not as much as if it's possible. Also, that's a lot of people think maybe it's possible, but it's about the desirability, right? So the the concerns about overpopulation, and then that we have bigger problems right now that we should put the money in instead of curing aging, you know, and other problems that they are worried about. So it's not so much about the disbelief that it's going to be possible. And
Yes.
yeah, I think, yeah, I don't know how we can. I think with doing the advocacy and trying to get this more into public discussion, I think this is the right way to grow this field and this movement, and to get more people to know about this and to get the attention to this field. Because if we don't do advocacy, then most people don't know about this or don't have this on their mind. They think all the time of other things, don't know about this. But if you do the advocacy, and if they see the posters, they they think about it. And
Yes. I think this kind of exposure is essential to getting past people's objections on the desirability of radical life extension, biomedical rejuvenation, because it does seem to me that if people are passionate about a particular goal and invested in making it happen, some of the practical reservations may not be as important. And of course, in Germany, you can see this to a much greater extent than in the United States, but you have all of these cathedrals that are extremely elaborate, and they took centuries to build sometimes. And the people who built them, the people who started building them, most often were not the people who were alive when they were completed. And yet a lot of time and effort and energy and very sincere dedication were invested into creating these cathedrals. So these people clearly had a view of the world that motivated them to undertake these efforts, even if the end goal was far away. So if we could convince even a significant minority of the population, say 5 to 10% of people, that this goal of radical life extension is so worthwhile that any effort put into it now is still important and justified, even if the realization is not instantaneous, even if we have to wait for the research to show whatever it shows. So are you finding that with your advocacy, with your gathering of signatures, with your hanging up of posters, you are getting some people who are approaching you who have that kind of conviction, who are willing to work in that way to achieve the goal, even if it's perhaps further off in the future?
Well, I think so. I think maybe there are like 5 or 10 or even 20% of the people who really want life extension, and if it would be possible. But most of them, of course, they are not active, right? They don't do anything for it. They just said, "Oh yeah, I would like to live longer. Of course, give me the medicine," but they don't put in the effort to hasten the development of this medicine. And I think this is where the party is also a good way to get the support of those people, because yeah, in the election, if they would know about the party, they could just vote for us. It doesn't cost them much time and doesn't cost them any money, and they can still give their support for life extension. And I think it's, from my opinion, so people who are against it, who think we have bigger problems and that the solution for overpopulation is that people die from old age. There are a lot of them. I think you cannot, with good arguments, you cannot change their mind from my experience, or at least that's true for most people, for most of people who have this opinion. So we just need to find the people who think that life extension is a good idea, that already have this belief. I think it's very hard to change the belief of people in this regard. Maybe over time it will change, if this medicine gets closer and mainstream, then more and more people will think it's a good idea. But right now, I think it would be enough to find all the people who already think that this is a good idea.
Yes, finding people who are already sympathetic is certainly quite important. And I agree that this seems to be an easier task than persuading people who are quite opposed already. So, by the way, we have in the comments from Alan Crowley a reference to the cathedral in Köln, which is shown here, and he cites it as a good example of long-term commitment, and this is one of the most famous in Germany.
So actually yesterday we hang up election posters right in front of the entrance of this cathedral, only like five meters away from the entrance. There were like two light poles, like on the right side of the entrance, on the left side on the entrance, and we hang up two posters there. So all people who take pictures of this cathedral now, they have our election posters on their picture too. And we even asked somebody from the church if this is allowed, and she said, yeah, it's the posts don't belong to the church, so we can hang the posters up there. So it's not a problem.
Excellent.
But
yes,
they get a lot of attention there because there are a lot of people who are there who visit the church, and they also see our election posters now.
Yes, it seems that you are quite skilled at finding prominent locations for people to view your posters. Now, Daniel Tweed wonders, have you identified any parties in power that are most friendly to your policies, as well as parties that are most opposed? Do you have a sense of whether the other parties, particularly the major parties, might take a stance on biomedical rejuvenation one way or the other, or do they mostly just ignore the issue?
So they are already investing in rejuvenation research, right? So we already have institutes in Germany who work on this, who do research in this area, but not enough from our point of view. So they're already doing this. This is also one argument that we offer people that say, "Oh, what are you demanding? What about the problems?" That we say, "Yeah, our government already is investing in this kind of research. It's just a question if we will have the medicine like in 100 years or maybe already in 20 years, you know." So why not hasten the development and put much more money into it? And I don't know of any party who is against it, you know, but they just don't do more. They think they do enough, and nobody is demanding that there's invested more, you know, not big groups at least, you know, only us and only a few people so far are demanding it actively. And so they don't see any urgency or any reason to invest significantly more money into this. I mean, what we demand is like a kind of Apollo project against aging, right? For implementing the damage repair approach, and so this would be a big step, you know, a big change, a big change of the allocation of the money of the government. And right now, I guess the government doesn't see any reason to do this change, because in the end, what the government cares about probably most is to get reelected. And if the voters don't demand this, then the parties, the government probably won't do it, won't put more money into it. Yeah.
Yes, fair enough. And there's a similar situation in the United States, in that I don't think any of the larger political parties in the US actively oppose research to reverse aging or research into biomedical rejuvenation. There is some funding available, for instance, for the National Institute on Aging, but a lot of the funding is, of course, disease-specific research like Alzheimer's disease research, which really has not yielded nearly as many promising treatments as might have been expected from the amount of money invested. And the sum of support for actual rejuvenation research that comprehensively addresses the types of aging-related damage is quite tiny, and mostly in the US, that research is funded through either philanthropy or private investments, private startups that might receive venture capital funding, for example. So it is definitely a similar problem in that the issue isn't getting the idea of such investment accepted altogether. It's more an issue of scaling it up to a significant extent. Now,
I mean, there are even two institutes in Germany who have this aging research in their name. You know, for example, in Cologne, there's the Max Planck Institute for Aging Research, and so one of the co-authors of the paper Hallmarks of Aging also is from the Max Planck Institute for Aging Research. So, and this institute is funded by the government, so they're already doing something, but not enough.
Yes. Something, but not enough. And Daniel also wonders, are there any other single issue parties in Germany, like the Party for Biomedical Rejuvenation Research, but advocating for their own particular issue?
So there was one that is not participating in the European election now. They demanded a basic income for everybody, universal basic income, basically. That was one single issue party. They only had this one issue. And now there's basically the party against climate change. This is also a single issue party. They also basically want to do advocacy for climate change actions. Yeah, and they don't really want to do. I don't know if you've seen it on TV. So the climate change movement, they like glued themselves on the street in Germany, I guess also in other countries. So they did really effective activities that got them a lot of attention. I mean, have you heard of that? They glued themselves on the street so that the cars couldn't go on, and there were huge traffic jams because of that all the time. So they were like in the media all the time they did other things. They painted famous buildings, they painted red and stuff like that. And now they're also participating in the European election, but not to do politics, just to get attention to the climate change problem. And yeah, they want to basically, they don't, yeah, in the European Parliament, they want, how you say it in English, they want to cause stress or something. Yeah, they want to get attention for this, so that politicians don't forget about the climate change problem. But other than that, there are, from my knowledge, there are no single issue political parties. There's a like an animal rights party, but they have an entire they also cover other issues. That's just their name and their focus, but they also cover all the other issues from my knowledge. But
Yes.
that's also a thing that from my experience now, because this life extension that we demand, basically research so that people can live for thousands of years, that is so provocative or strange to a lot of people that the media, if they report like about the European election and they say, oh yeah, there are like 29 small parties, and then they give like 2 or 3 examples, then most of the time, a lot of the time, we are one of the examples because the other parties you cannot. They have the whole program, and it's a 3-letter abbreviation, and it's not really worth mention for the media. But with our single issue, it gets quite a lot of attention, I think, from the media.
Yes, and that is promising. The media do tend to gravitate toward greater sensationalism, whatever will attract clicks or views. And I think your methods of activism are both a lot more effective and a lot more benign than what this party against climate change is doing, because I think blocking traffic or defacing buildings is just going to get a lot of people angry, people who might have been otherwise sympathetic to that cause even, but because of these disruptive tactics, they may turn against that movement. Whereas hanging posters, doing media interviews, engaging in conversations with people would not inherently antagonize anybody. Certainly some people may disagree, some people may have strong objections, but a party that behaves itself the way that your party has behaved, I think, is much more likely to earn goodwill. So not only will you get media coverage, but you will serve as good examples for how an honest and civilized single issue party can behave. So I'm
I'm
glad.
not, I'm not sure. I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, I often think we should be more extreme, and mm, I mean, because if you really think that your cause is important, I mean, because as I said, I mean, there are maybe 10, maybe it's not the right number, but maybe there are 10 or 20% of the people in Germany who would support the party or vote for the party if they knew about it, because their first priority is health, and to live long in good health. So with more extreme actions, you would probably get more known faster, and then you would probably, you would get a lot of people angry, but you would also get those people who really prioritize your issue. You would get their support, or you would get them to know about you, because so the climate change movement, they have their most of because of their extreme actions. I guess everybody in Germany, most people know about them, and almost nobody knows about us. So if we would have done the same like they did, then everybody would know about us too. So maybe that would have been the right strategy or better strategy. But we don't have so many active people who would do these extreme things, because the climate activists, I mean, they got into courts, and they got high fines and stuff. So they really believe in their cause, right? Because otherwise they wouldn't do this and take those fines and get. I think they get, even some of them even got into jail for that. So sometimes I think we should be more extreme to hasten this more.
As you were talking, I was also thinking about the issue of essentially insufficient numbers of activists, and to some extent, the anti-climate change movement has an easier task because most people are aware of the issue to begin with, and many people are at least somewhat sympathetic. But I think the climate change activists go to an excessive amount of extreme tactics in order to advocate for their point of view, because the awareness of the issue is already there. And what they're displeased with perhaps would be with the pace at which action is being taken, or the kinds of actions that are being taken. And I will probably disagree with them on the specifics, but I think, at least for their movement, they stand to have a greater risk of aggravating people rather than attracting more people to their side. Now, for rejuvenation research or radical life extension, yes, the problem is limited public awareness still. So some prominent display may raise awareness, but it has to be the right kind of display. It has to be relevant to the actual cause. So I'm wondering what you think about Zoltan Istvan's Immortality bus, where he essentially remodeled an old RV to look like a giant coffin on wheels, and he drove it throughout the country. It wasn't the most reliable vehicle, by the way. It broke down frequently, which is why it's not in use now. But he did take it across the country to Washington, D.C., and he made various campaign stops. He raised awareness of the problem of death, essentially, through the diseases of aging. And he was advocating for also more resources for radical life extension, for rejuvenation research. Do you think that was an effective strategy and an example of perhaps a more extreme strategy that might work?
Of course, I saw that on YouTube, and I really liked it. But yeah, what were the results, right? I mean, of course, I mean we need a lot of those actions to be successful. It's I think it's a good way to do advocacy. I really think it was a good thing. But we would need much more of this kind and much more people doing this kind of stuff. I don't know. Do you know what came out of it? I mean, did a lot of people, did a lot of media report about this? I mean, there was a documentation about it, but I mean, it's difficult to get the attention of people and yeah, to today with all the social media and all the people who try to get attention. So you kind of need to do extreme things to get media attention or also. So I don't know.
Yes. Well, Zoltan states that his Immortality Bus campaign got considerable media attention, about 100 million views based on my recollection of his claim. And yes, there was a lot of media coverage. He was doing interviews essentially on a continuous basis while he was touring with the Immortality Bus. And there have been a lot of articles written about it, a lot of documentaries. Some are still in the process of being made. And a lot of people were brought over to the Transhumanist Party as a result. So Mike Lazine writes that when he first found out about the USTP, it was through Zoltan Ishvan and his Immortality Bus. And he was saying, what in the world? But it got his attention and it led to him joining the USTP. So we have at least one example of a person whom that campaign convinced. Of course, yes, the irony, as Alan Crowley pointed out, is the Immortality Bus died a lot and it was resurrected. So that may or may not be a good example, depending on how one interprets it. But if we had many of those buses driving around the country, they may have an even greater impact. It's a matter of the resources that are devoted to it. But Daniel also wonders, have you produced documentaries or any similar media about your cause, the cause of biomedical rejuvenation research, any documentaries in the German language, or just any interviews that you've had that were particularly effective?
So there's a documentary done right now by a film student. It should go about 50 minutes about our election campaigns. So this film student is following us since a couple of months now, because in February there was also in Berlin an election where we did hang up posters. There he followed us with the camera. But I don't know when this is coming out. And there was, but it was only a small documentation. It was done two days ago. There was a big German TV channel. They want to do a documentation about small parties who participate in the European election, and they picked 3 of them as an example, and we were one of them. And yeah, so they followed us like a half day long with hanging up posters and interviewed us a lot. And but I mean, the documentation. So there were a lot of like small documentations about our election campaigning in the last years. So also our party, yeah, as I mentioned, we already participated in 21 elections. Yeah, but it's not like a long 1-hour documentation that it's available right now. It's not yet
Yes.
there.
Well, even small segments of media coverage or mini documentaries can still attract some people and certainly develop the name recognition of the party. Of course, the most famous documentary that featured Zoltan is called Immortality or Bust, that was produced by Daniel Solinger, and we had him as a guest on a previous virtual Enlightenment Salon as well. So hopefully you will be able to get a longer documentary made regarding your efforts, and certainly please keep us updated about the student documentary that you mentioned. And now I would like to go to Art Ramon to see what questions or comments he has.
Yeah, as far as online sort of marketing, have you tried doing any meme campaigns? Viral type memes?
No, not yet. No.
Okay.
I mean, the problem is that there are very few active people doing the election campaign, and so we decided. So we can also air commercials on TV and radio. So we get the time for free, often at prime time. So there are people from our party working on the radio commercials. We have someone who does a professional TV commercial now. I've seen it today, like 2 hours ago, for the first time. It's really great, and and then people are designing flyers and distribute flyers and post boxes right now, but we don't have any people so far that do a lot of social media stuff, and but of course everybody who sees this also could help us. That I mean, the more people help, the bigger, the more people we can reach.
I've got a few memes I've created. I could probably forward to you. You can modify them, or at least get an idea of creating your own from them. So I'll get your email later on.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks.
Excellent. Yes, and our friend Alan Crowley has some words of praise for you. He says, Felix, you've been a great guest. Best of luck with your political work. And Alan, thank you for your support, as always, of our virtual Enlightenment salons. Now I would like to go to Daniel to see what question he has.
Yeah, it's really good news to hear that the longevity movement is gaining traction in many locations in the world. I think that's a very positive development. Have you thought of targeting ways to throw more resources at the problem, like getting people to become biomedical longevity researchers? There's always a big crop of college students deciding what they want to specialize in, and it seems like we could get some bang for the buck on that problem that way. Lots of interesting strategies I could think of, but including the maker movement, worldwide maker movement with 3D printers. I mean, you can get CRISPR, gene editing kits at pretty low cost. So. Just any thoughts on throwing more human resources at the problem?
Yeah, I mean, my hope is that by doing the advocacy, more people know about it. And then the way I came to the movement is because I saw a YouTube video of the Manhattan Beach Project conference. That was on YouTube, and I saw like a presentation from Orbit Gray, and I thought, wow, that's a realistic chance that we have to cure aging in my lifetime, and that's why I became an advocate. And first, I studied biochemistry, So 3 months after I saw this video, I enrolled into university again and did a second degree basically in biochemistry. Before that, I was an electrical engineer. I had a master's degree in electrical engineering, or I have one, yeah. And so that's my hope by doing the advocacy, and people who didn't know that before of the chance that they get to know about it because of our advocacy, and that they decide to dedicate part of their life to hasten this development.
Do you think there's enough? Do you think there's enough coordination of world activities between researchers, or have you thought about filling that space, perhaps? Or I don't know who the premier body is that's doing that kind of work. Maybe SENS is.
Yeah, I think there are other people who are doing that already. And of course, I mean, all people who live in Germany or also outside of Germany and are interested in this subject, they should join our party, and there they can communicate with each other and give each other tips and so on. Also career tips, but we don't, as a party, we don't like focus on that, or we don't especially focus on biochemistry or medicine students or so. No, we try to reach everybody.
Focusing is important to achieve results, so hooray for that aspect. You don't want to spread yourself too thin.
And I would say, actually, the entity that has been doing the most in terms of coordinating researchers from different organizations has been the Longevity Escape Velocity Foundation, in particular with regard to the Dublin Longevity Declaration. So, Felix, I know that you have signed it, and we are all signatories to it in this salon. And Daniel, you were curious about whether it might be possible to use some of the activist skill sets of the Party for Biomedical Rejuvenation Research to also refer people to the Dublin Longevity Declaration, which is a document that anybody in the world could sign. We have, at this time, 2,551 signatories, including most of the world's leading scientists in the field of rejuvenation research, but certainly we could use many more, both from scientists and from the general public. Have you spoken with people in Germany, people on the streets, or people who are somewhat more involved in this field about the Dublin Longevity Declaration?
Yes, so we, on our website, we link all the relevant longevity activism projects. So we have on our menu we have a extra point for the Dublin Longevity Declaration. We translated it into German, and we have a link to, of course, to sign it. So the idea is, with the election posters and the media, with the election campaign, because also the fact that we are with a self-explanatory party name on the ballot paper, because a lot of people do vote by mail nowadays. They don't go on the election day to the voting booth and vote there, but they get the voting letter by mail, by post office, and then at home they vote, and then they send it to the government office, and at home they have enough time to look over the ballot paper and see what parties there are. And our party name is like self-explanatory, Party for Biomedical Rejuvenation Research, and the hope, and of course mostly because of the election posters and the media articles and the commercials on TV and radio and all the social media posts, that people go to our website, and we already see, and of course prior to elections, we always see an increase of the number of people who visit our website, and there we link all the, and if you do something in the field of longevity, life extension, and it's not on our website linked yet, please let us know, then we will link you. We have also have a site about cryonics. We explain cryonics and link to the cryonic things, information sites. And we have translated the vitalism, white paper, because it's very good. If you haven't read it, please read it, Vitalism. And and we also link, of course, and have translated the longevity, the Dublin Longevity Declaration, and other things in this field. And that's, I mean, our party website should be the place where people inform themselves about this movement, about life extension research, about rejuvenation research. We have linked a lot of videos about this, and a lot of media articles that are about this subject, about this issue. And yeah, we have everything should be on our website. We have a blog there. We have very few people who write blog posts, so but hopefully that gets more, and it hopefully it gets it's supposed to be a site where, like, maybe site like Lifespan.io, where you get all the knowledge about the field. That's the idea.
Yes. And we certainly need sites like that one as gateways for people to find out about the rejuvenation field and its potential, and also to access key documents, key statements that they could get involved with. And I agree, the Vitalism white paper is quite an interesting and important read, and the Dublin Longevity Declaration, of course, is one that everybody should sign. And once again, here is the link to the Dublin Longevity Declaration. Our friend Mike Lazine wonders if Germany has the equivalent of a television channel such as C-SPAN, where small parties can do events. C-SPAN is a channel in the United States which often broadcasts political events that don't get a lot of mainstream media coverage, even if they're mainstream events like, say, congressional hearings, for example, but they're not sensational enough for the major media channels to pick up. So C-SPAN can also cover conventions or debates of minor political parties, or speakers who are perhaps a bit outside of the major two political parties in terms of their own ideas and convictions. Does Germany have anything similar, like a television channel which might give the Party for Biomedical Rejuvenation Research some time, or a fair hearing on its platform?
Not to my knowledge, no. I mean, of course, I don't watch TV almost never because I don't have time for that. But I don't know about. I would probably know about it if one of this kind of channel would exist. But yeah, I don't know about it, so it probably doesn't exist. Yeah.
Understood. Now, in terms of the efforts that you have planned prior to the European Parliament election, which I understand will be happening quite soon on June 9th, what actions do you think will be most effective to increase the name recognition and the reach of the Party for Biomedical Rejuvenation Research during that time?
Well, I myself concentrate on hanging up those election posters, because I really think that, so the election posters, as I said, they will lead to media articles, to interviews, they will lead to social media posts. I mean, you can do a Google search picture Google search for Verjüngungsforschung, that's rejuvenation research, the German word, and there you will see like Twitter, Facebook, Reddit posts from people who just saw our pictures, saw our election posters, took pictures of them, post them, and then there's a discussion going. Oftentimes, a discussion going on about rejuvenation research, about the subject, and so I think the most efficient thing that we can do right now is to hang up those election posters, because you can, you reach people that you wouldn't reach online, or you wouldn't reach otherwise. And then I do the interviews. So on Thursday I had 3 interviews. On Friday we had this documentation, the TV team that followed us, and from my experience, so now it's still 6 weeks to the election, and from my experience, it gets then more like the media interests gets more as the closer the election comes. So I'm very confident that we will get a lot of more media interviews. So I will focus on that, hanging up the posters, giving interviews.
Yes, that makes sense. Now, do you ever have people who saw the posters approach you directly, either you personally or a fellow activist within the party, to ask questions or just say, I saw this poster and it led me to think the following, either something friendly or maybe something critical? Do you get those kinds of interactions a lot?
Yeah. People approach us all the time when we hang up the posters. They say, "What is this? You know, are you?" As I said, they ask us, "Are you joking?" or so, and they of course also want to know about the science. But it's kind of difficult to take. I mean, I cannot always take the time to explain it. You know, because if I would explain all day long the subject to individuals, you know, I couldn't hang up as many posters. So yeah, I kind of, if it would be more people hanging up the posters, we could also do more of the explanations, you know, to people who ask about it. Most of the time I refer the people to our website where everything is explained in detail. So if they want to know more, then they should go to our website and read about it there.
Actually, that seems like a lost opportunity, that you're losing the audience when you have their attention right then and there. I mean, when you're trying to get the signatures, pretend to put up a poster just to get people's attentions and then get them to sign right away?
Yeah, I mean, we even collected signatures during the Berlin election where we hang up those posters. So we had these situations. I mean, yeah. So we even collected signatures like just beneath the election poster, and then we said, "Here we are collecting signatures for this party there that the election poster is from." Right over there. But I haven't seen much of a difference collecting signatures with an election poster beside me and without an election poster beside me. It's basically, from my experience, it's the same, collecting the signature.
Interesting. Now, in regard to the signature collection, are there any tactics that work particularly well, or at least better than others, in your experience?
Well, if you approach younger people, the success rate is much higher, like students also. Much higher than if you approach older people, like 40 years and over and older. And it's also, the success rate is much higher if you collect, like in parks also, the signatures, where people are in their spare time and are not busy doing other stuff or don't have to go to somewhere,
Yes. So approaching young people and approaching people in parks, very interesting. And I wonder if a similar tendency will hold in the United States. Now, it is curious that younger people would be more likely to support rejuvenation research in Germany. What we have found with the US Transhumanist Party is that our membership is predominantly middle-aged, I would say, and we have some older individuals. People above the age of 75 are not our main demographic, but people under the age of 30 are not our main demographic either. So generally, the vast majority of our members are between the ages of 30 and 70, with a few who are older. So I'm curious about the situation in Germany and what could explain the preponderance of younger people who are supporters, in part because we want to attract more of that demographic to the Transhumanist Party, and in part because it's a bit odd because older people are feeling the ravages of aging to a greater extent. So intuitively, they might want to do something about it. A lot of very young people in particular are still in this phase of their lives where at least many of them think they're indestructible, though I never did. And I was a kind of exception for my cohort in that I had an interest in reversing of aging ever since I learned about aging. So what do you think explains the observation that you have in Germany that younger people are more likely to sign your petition, maybe even more likely to be interested in your party's goals?
And so maybe because younger people know more about technology, or can believe more in technology that we could really achieve this, and old people are more skeptical, I think, that we could ever achieve longevity, escape velocity, and the very old people, a lot of times they tell us that this will not come in time for them, and they're probably right then, because they're very old already. But they could still do it for their children, right? Support this cause for their children, and do cryonics themselves. But you know how few people are interested in cryonics, even though they know about it. Well, I think, because young people, they grew up with those new technologies, and they are more, they probably have the belief that this, more young people have the belief that this could work than older people. That I don't know why this is.
Yes, it's interesting. So Jason writes that the younger the person is, the more chances there are that they are actually going to see the results of rejuvenation research in their lifetimes. And this complements what you were saying, Felix. And Jason is also saying that we have been having some young people trickle in on our Discord server, our US Transhumanist Party Discord server. And I'm wondering if your party also uses social media platforms like Discord, which seem to resonate more with the younger generation. So people who are in middle age, they tend to use platforms like Facebook, for instance, which are more text-based, but they're more public-facing as well. Whereas with Discord, it seems people can divide themselves into these communities, and what happens in a particular Discord server doesn't get seen by other people. It doesn't get seen by their broader circle of friends or acquaintances. So does your party have a Discord server? Have you tried working with those kinds of newer social media platforms?
We have a Discord server or channel. Yes, it's also linked on our website. It's a general server about rejuvenation research, so it's not party specific. So there's also an NGO in Germany who has the same issue like our party, who does advocacy for rejuvenation research, and the Discord server that we have is in general about rejuvenation research, but it also discusses our party and yeah, it also has a, what do you say, on the Discord server, this forum for our party on it.
Very good. Very good. Thank you for letting us know about that. And John H. wonders, are there cryonic preservation facilities in Germany or anywhere else in Europe? I know that there's a company called Tomorrow Bio, which has been quite vocal in advocating for cryonics. How well known are they in Europe?
I don't know how well known they are. We try, of course, with our website, we also link to them. So we try to get them more known. But they have a great team to do advocacy to promote the cryonics stuff. So they do a lot for the promotion. So they do a really great job there. They're based in Berlin, so that's where I live also. But they're storing facilities in Switzerland. But yeah, they are a German. Tomorrow Biostasis is a German company, yes.
Yes, and this has been, I think, quite a prominent addition to the cryonics scene in Europe. I have certainly seen a lot of media from them during the past several years. Now, it's also interesting to consider Sergei Gubkin's comment in our chat. He writes that many young people just don't think about aging and death, and they are busy with their lives, and older people are unfortunately just set in their ways, probably because of diminished neuroplasticity, because of aging. But one hopes that there are exceptions in each of these groups, individuals who could be reached. And as you mentioned, there are some people who are already initially sympathetic. Are there any ways in which you identify people who might be likelier to agree with supporting this research, who would be sympathetic already? Are there any character traits that you look for, any signs that a person might be a supporter that you might focus on, that you would then invest more of your time in trying to get that person involved?
No, I haven't thought about that. I think no. Spontaneously, I couldn't think of any character traits. I mean, I try, or we try to reach as many people as possible, and then, the people who are interested, they are supposed to contact us and get involved. We don't put so much effort into approaching individual people. We just want to approach as many people as possible, and then yes, that is the strategy of that I'm following right now with the party.
Yes, and in regard to the European Parliament elections and how they're structured, because in the United States we don't really have a body that's analogous to the European Parliament. Could you tell us essentially how those elections are different from the German Bundestag elections in terms of who votes, how the votes are counted in terms of winning, and where you think you would have the most success in terms of getting a higher proportion of votes in certain cities and certain regions, if you have any ideas about that.
So basically, you are eligible to vote if you are at least 16 years old and if you have the German citizenship. And for the European election, you can also have the citizenship of a European country that is in the EU. So you have one vote. So for the federal election and the state election, you always have two votes. You can vote directly for a candidate, and the secondary vote is for a party. But in the European election, it's very easy. You just have one vote for one party. So either people vote for you or they don't vote for you. And in regards to which areas, so in the past, so for example, in the last European election, we made the observation that in the new, so Germany was divided in the past, and in the new states, we got much more votes in percentages than in the old states. I don't know why this is. So in the old German states, we got, I think, in the last European election, we only got 0.1%. I think no more than 0.1% in each of the old states. And in the new states, we got up to 0.8% of the votes. I have no idea why. And so.
Interesting. So these new states of Germany are the states that used to be East Germany, correct?
Yes, that's what I mean. Yeah, you're correct. Yes.
And this is interesting too, because East Germany, of course, was a communist country. There was some influence from the Soviet Union. Interestingly enough, the Soviet Union culture was not at all opposed to the pursuit of longevity or rejuvenation research. Do you think there might have been essentially this cultural legacy to see this as more acceptable in those parts of Germany?
I don't know, but I don't think this is the reason. I think maybe one reason could be that the people in the new states are more likely to vote for a new party, because so that the people in the old states, they have always voted for like a certain big party and all their life, so they will not vote for another party now. They will always vote for the same party. But probably in the new states, they are more used to, give their votes to, because of course, they don't. When they were East Germany, they had other parties, or only one party that they voted for. And now that they are not, that they are part of, that there's no East Germany anymore, they voted for other parties, and so maybe now that's the reason why they are more flexible, because they don't have this. They're not used to always vote for the same party all their life. I don't know. That's one. Yeah, maybe one explanation, but I don't know if that's the correct one.
Yes, well, that's an interesting hypothesis. Certainly, people who have been through a lot of political change where the dominant political party shifted so radically are more open to considering other options, because they know that the current leading parties are not going to remain the leading parties necessarily. So we have 5 minutes left in our salon today. I would invite any closing comments from Art Ramon and Daniel, and then we can hear some closing remarks from you, Felix, in terms of anything additional that you think should be covered in our discussion. So Art Ramon, please go ahead.
No questions or comments. Just thanks for coming on the show, Felix. And like I said, I'll email you what I have as a meme, kind of maybe give you ideas on how you can modify it for yourself. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. And Daniel, please go ahead.
I wasn't clear. Are you the candidate that would be serving if your party should be successful, and or are you running candidates? I guess.
Yeah, so I'm the first candidate. So if we would get if you would get one seat, I would get the seat. In total, we have 19 candidates. So if we would get 19%, we would have 19 people in the European Parliament. On our website, you see the list with pictures of all the candidates we have.
What about local offices like city council level or mayors kinds of any interest from that local level?
Other small parties do that, but because we want that the government puts much more money into rejuvenation research, and the research money is only given on state level, on federal level, and on European level. And that's why we only participate in those kind of elections. On local level, they don't invest in the universities and in research institutes. They don't have the budget for that.
And still, there could be a knock-on publicity effect if you got a mayor to endorse the party.
Yeah. But since we don't cover any other issues, it would be difficult then, because we would cover all the other issues too, because otherwise we couldn't do anything there.
And I noticed
if we would have more active people, we could more likely do that also. Yeah. I think the party is a really great construct to do all this kind of advocacy, but we would need more people to use this construct to do the advocacy, because right now we are very few people. There are a lot of ideas also with memes and so, but we don't. I'm afraid we don't have the people who actually do this. Who use those ideas. That's all.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of sortition, where average people can serve the public, and I just want to really applaud your civic engagement and seeing a problem that needs solving and diving in to help solve it. That's very good. Thanks a lot.
Yes, indeed. I would echo those good words from Daniel. And in about a minute and a half, is there anything else, Felix, that you would like to say that perhaps hasn't been said yet, or reinforce a point that you've made earlier?
Yes. So anybody who thinks that's a good way to do advocacy is welcome to come to Germany in the coming weeks and help with the election campaign. And it's really good advocacy, even if you don't get a seat, because a lot of people, through the election campaign, we can reach a lot of people. And if we would get into parliament, there are a lot of benefits. I mean, I could give talks as a parliamentarian inside the European Parliament. I could invite scientists to the European Parliament to give talks. I could do advocacy directly to the members of the European Parliament from the other parties, and I as a member of the European Parliament, I could do advocacy worldwide at conferences and other meetings, and we would, as a party, we would also get a lot of money, basically, to do more advocacy, more effective advocacy. We would get, as a party, as a member in the European Parliament, you would get 50,000 euro per year for advocacy. You could hire people for in total 28,000 euro per month. So I could hire a couple of people who do this advocacy full time. And also the party would get money from the state if we get into the European Parliament. So with more money, we could do much more advocacy, and it would be also with the seat, you would get more media attention. It would be much easier to participate in the upcoming German elections, and So from the advocacy point of view, it would everything would become much more effective. You could do much more with that and reach more people.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Felix. And I would encourage any of our viewers who happen to be in Germany in the next 6 weeks for whatever reason to contact Felix and help out the Party for Biomedical Rejuvenation Research. They truly have a unique opportunity right now to qualify for the European Parliament before the threshold gets raised. So let's help them get the 0.5% of the votes that I think are quite within reach. And thank you, Felix, for joining us. Thank you to our engaged viewers, as always, for the excellent questions. Thank you to Art Ramon and Daniel and Jason. And I hope that we can all live long and prosper.